Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on May 5th, 2023, and that always throws me off. Now, I build myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally live with and that I personally use in my day to day life. And the philosophies of life that I talk about are the ones I personally live my life by. So, this is not just a question of here's a couple of ideas you might desire to try, and a lot of other people may have given it a shot. These are the ones that I personally am putting to use daily. So I can tell you from firsthand experience, they work like a charm. Now, before I get into anything, we have Adam in the house with the gold. Shadow is in right behind him with the silver. Then we have Emmy coming in with the bronze, and Joe, you have come in with honorable mention. Now, I will tell you, right off the bat, if you've got a question or if you've got a comment that you desire me to see, put at least part of it in all caps, or put that funny little waving hand. Something to draw my attention to it. Otherwise, the odds are I'm going to miss it. Now, remember, putting everything in all caps for me is not yelling. For me, it is simply getting my attention. Okay, and sometimes that can be a bit of a challenge. But let's get something straight here right off the bat. Because Shadow is in already. So how about if we go to this and we find Shadow? Where are we? We have whoops. This is Shadow's YouTube channel. So by all means, drop by and give his channel a look. If you like what he has to say, do him a favor, give him a thumbs up, and subscribe to his channel. He's got some great information there. I do want to drop in on it periodically. I haven't been on the show in a while, but that has more to do with scheduling than anything else. Now, in all fairness, the same applies to this stream. If you like the stream, do me a favor and give us a thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to hit that neat little alarm button to let you know when the next one's coming out. I do try and get on at least once a day, 6 days a week. Okay, Thursdays are right off. It just doesn't happen. But lately, I've been having all kinds of neat little issues as far as family responsibilities and governmental annoyances, which I'm pretty certain most of you have gone through all of the above. Probably not in the same way, but what the heck. Now, I figure, okay, let's start making our dreams a reality. Your dream, my dream, somebody else's dream, doesn't matter. Let's get started on making things happen so that we can, when we get done this stream, we can walk away feeling energized, feeling excited about your life, not about mine. I mean, I'm happy when people are pleased with the way my life is going. But honestly, from my standpoint, it's a question of whether you're happy with your life. Okay. Now, it doesn't matter how you got to the position you're in. Okay, aside from it fills in details of the wherewithal. But the reality, and guess I should hit return on that. There we go. The reality is this. However you got to where you are, we are all in exactly the same place, as in we are right here, right now. Now, I mentioned I was going to make dreams come true. Okay, I'm going to show you how to do it, but I'm going to have to use my own as a description, as a explanation. This said, if you've got a kind of dream that you really desire to get underway, maybe this is a dream from when you were a child. Maybe it's a goal or an attainment that you desired to make when you were younger, and you haven't got there. Well, let me put it this way. Let's say you intended on having a business of your own by the time you were 20, and you're now 21. You're not going to make that time limit. That doesn't mean you don't have the ability to attain that dream. I had a client years ago that when she was 17, she desired to become a doctor. At 52, she still did not have that dream fulfilled. So I worked with her for about 6 months to a year beforehand, and she went back into school at 53 years old. And at 60, she got her MD. She got what she was aiming at many years later, but she did get it. Okay. And this is the same thing I'm telling you. You've got the capacity to attain the dreams you're aiming for. You know, now I'm not expecting a whole lot of incredible turnaround. I am happy to say we are now sitting at 507 subscribers, which again, we still haven't gotten into June. And to make the 1,000 goal that I was aiming for, well, that I am aiming for, okay, I'm still ahead of the game. And I am going, and obviously, I'm looking at this going, well, there's a goal for me. Now, in all fairness, it relies on other people. But if you've got a goal that you would like to attain, maybe it's a weight issue, maybe it's simply overriding an illness, or perhaps you've got a business that you thought about starting and you haven't totally given up, but you're at a loss as to where to go. To me, the principle is still the same. Okay, you've got a goal you desire to attain. Time to start making these things happen. Now, I mentioned just the other day that with Inner Voice Enterprises, with my company, okay, my goal is, shall we say, a little on the large side. Okay, because I've got the YouTube channel. And here's the funny thing with the channel. Okay, when you look at the channel, I'm looking at this as a way of helping get people all on the same track. This is being absorbed by my company. Okay, now that means that I'm pulling it out of my income, okay, in order to get ahead. I've already got it going. I'm currently at 507. So if I look at that, we go, where are we? You know, this is really a silly idea. Well, probably. There it is. I still, technology is a wonderful thing. With all the technology, I'm working on a computer. Okay. I'm working on a computer here. And yet I still prefer the solar powered calculator. Okay. Yeah, I'm a bit of a dinosaur, but what the heck? So if we go 1,000 minus 507 equals 493 subscriptions. Now, this is just the way to try to calculate progress. That's it. And do understand, each and every one of you is vitally important in this world. There's not a one of you, no matter what your income, no matter what situation you've gone through. Maybe you've got physical impediments. Maybe you've got, sensory complications, or maybe your brain just doesn't work in the way everybody else's does. The reality is, these are not deterrents. These are simply a different way of dealing with the world. Okay, so I look at that, I got 493. I divide that. What do I got? 7 months here? Yep. Divide by 7. That means, let's see, and we divide that by 4. That means I've got to make 17 new subscriptions, an average of 17 new subscriptions a week. Now, to that end, like in order to make the goal, now that's a minimum of 17. Okay, but that's also an average. So I've got that goal that I've got to work at in order to build what I'm aiming for. Now, I mentioned I was going to be putting a newsletter together. Okay, I literally started writing the first edition, which will come out on the 17th of next month. Okay, it's just going to be a small thing to start with, but ultimately it's going to grow, or at least my intention, and therefore it is. It's going to grow to a global magazine. The kicker with the magazine is it is going to be run. It is going to be operated solely through my own income. Okay, solely through what the company does. I am not with the with the newsletter. I am not going to be charging a subscription for it. And this is absolutely twisted. I know this compared to the norm. Okay, but to me, the newsletter and magazine are literally an advertising deal. In other words, getting our name out there. Now, with that in mind, I am never going, the idea is that I will not be going, oh, gee, let's see what we can do about selling pages and pages of advertising for other people. I will eventually look into other people's advertising, but I have a very specific frame time or picture in my mind right now as far as how ad, how many ads I'm going to be facilitating. So if I take a look, I don't have one handy right now. This is ouch. That hurt like dickens. Okay. Two sides. This is just a utility bill. It gets the point across. On between any pages I've got. Okay. On between two sides of a page, I'm only going to be having one business card sized ad. And that includes the actual ads that I'm going to put in. Things like, here's a little bit of information. Here's a little bit of information for the various books that I've got up and going. And this is just one of those little goals, but it's already been put in motion. Okay. Now, the same thing is going to apply to the charity that I am going to be building. Okay. But again, it will be funded straight through the company. This will not be done like the other charities I've heard of. And I find it hard on it, really, to call it necessarily a charity. I'm going to be taking part of my net profit to make this happen. Now, there's got to be a way to do it right. Because this idea of going, oh, we're running a charity and let's take, I don't know, 75% of the money you give, we'll put that in our pocket and call it off as expenses. I don't think I could be more unhappy with that kind of an idea. Okay, maybe I could, but not just yet. Okay, so I've already started these processes. Okay, and they are things that, in my eyes, it's not a question of whether they're going to happen. It's a question of they're already happening. Okay, now with that in mind, if you've got a goal, a dream that you desire to attain, maybe you've got a writing project. I've always dreamed of writing a book. How do I go about it? You start by doing something really weird. Okay, here we have a sheet of paper and a pen. It's really kind of weird, but you'll get a lot more writing done if you take that sheet of paper and you take your pen and you put it on the paper and start making squiggly marks, also known as writing. Although when it comes to me and when it comes to many doctors I've ever seen it really boils down to squiggly marks work. And I do have an announcement for those of you that are not in the chat room. Derek has just informed us he has arrived at the SOR party. Well, more to the point, I suspect that means he's arrived. He goes, we made it. I suspect that means that he got into the city, into Las Vegas. Okay. So, Derek, question for you. How long ago did you actually roll into town? Ouch. When we got here, our hotel reservation was messed up, so we had to book another one, and now we have to wait. Now we have to wait for a new room. Ouch. After all that driving, this is one of the biggest concerns with travel. It's also one of the reasons why I do my best. Why when I do make my next trip, I will end up making that trip by plane. I don't like this kind of a setup you're saying that you've got. Henry, how you doing? Glad you could join us. And football, I did miss you coming through the door. My apologies. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us. The reality is things are starting to move. Okay, now I'm already like here we are in May of 2023. I don't know when the SOR party is going to be next year, but I'm doing everything in my power, which by the way, I got a lot more of it than I thought I did. Okay, because I've got a trip down to Texas this fall. I've just got to get my passport in place, and I'll do that. I will do that later this week. Once I've got in, I'm set for the next 10 years. So I will be dealing with that later this week. The reality is I'm going to remove all of this. I already told my son he's not necessarily happy with it, but hey, this is my face, such as it is. Curiosity, Derek, are you actually getting to stay in the Golden Nugget? I know that's where everybody was supposed to be joining up. Just a curiosity thing on my part. I mean, call me nosy if you will, but I've been called a lot worse. Bonus. So that ought to be one heck of a busy weekend for you then. I mean, let's face it, that kind of a drive, you're probably exhausted already. But I will tell you from what I've seen with most people, you get into that kind of an atmosphere, you'll find your second wind pretty quick. You know, I was really, earlier on last year, I was really looking forward to this run. Ouch. Well, that does tell me what I'm looking at. How many nights are you there for, Derek? He'll get back to us as soon as he can. Oh, there we go. 2. Boy, is that ever a quick turnaround. But yeah, at 369 a night, for 2 nights, that's pricey. Now, from my standpoint, if I were to just come down for 2 nights, because I'm in Canada and we've got the difference um in currency, I'm looking at probably a $2,000 bill in the hotel alone, depending on what hotel we ended up staying in. Okay, and for that matter, depending on where the party ends up being. But I am already booking it. Not booking as in booking a room. I mean booking as in setting things in motion to plan for it. Now, when you've got a dream, we start off with the first issue. Okay, get your goal in mind. In my case, it's real simple. The goal I've got is to build a global empire, not just an intercontinental business, but an empire that it will have live streaming, it will have the newsletter, it will have I'm going to call it a charity for lack of a better term. Okay, see, I look at the way religions have laid it out, where they go, 10% of your income should be tithed. And I got no problem with that, with one thing, with one little proviso. That 10% is of my net income, not my gross. Okay. And it should never come out of your gross income for one reason. If you're going to go the route of charity, absolutely make certain you take care of you first. Now, you get that in mind. Now, the dream board. And a dream board is literally just here is a list of great big goals I have. Now, for me, I am not looking at buying a house, but maybe you are. Okay, maybe you're one of these. Maybe one of your dreams is to own your own house, your own property. So, just a couple of thoughts. Oh, yeah, as soon as I know where it is, and I agree with you there. Derek's just saying, "Oh, good, so at least you're out there for 2 things." Um, Derek's heading for Sedona afterwards. I've heard a lot about Sedona, I've never gone. In all fairness, I haven't traveled a whole lot, really. But he's just suggesting if we're talking about another SOR party, book or any travel for that matter. If you can book a month ahead of time, you're better off. But I will tell you on a on a personal note, especially given what Derek's gone through. Okay, I strongly agree with him. Book at least a month ahead of time, but about 2 weeks ahead of time, double check and make certain everything is still locked in and that you've still got a place to land. That, from my standpoint, is just a way of avoiding it, avoiding the stresses. I do appreciate that, Derek, and I can safely say for the people in this room, they undoubtedly will appreciate the videos and what have you of Sedona as well. This is a question of really sharing the experiences that people are going through. Okay, sharing the bad ones is necessary to help you cope, but sharing the good ones is an excellent way to help people look at something a little bit more exciting. Okay, something a little more uplifting. Now, I did just find out, just a heads up, Friday it turns out I may not be on air because I think I've got grad ceremonies for my son. And in case you guys hadn't figured it out, my son comes before everything else. That's a little wrong. My son's come before almost everything else. My own health has got to come first. And I'm pretty certain you guys will agree with that. Oh, that is open. I did do something really bizarre, so hopefully this doesn't cause problems. Where are we? Finally dug my fan out because I'll tell you, the temperature around here has been absolutely nuts. But you take a dream board. That was not fun. You take a dream board, as in a sheet of paper, and put your goals in point form. I do not like when that happens. By the way, no, my throat is not seizing up. That's not the problem. I'm just choking is all. But that happens. Anyway, the dream board is just simply a question of going, here's a big goal. Okay, this is the thing I desire. Now, for me, okay, where is it? This is what's called a heads up. And like I said, I was going to walk through what I'm doing because hopefully it'll give you guys an idea of what you can do to make your own goals a reality. So the first newsletter that comes out, and I don't know if it's going, it looks like it's probably going to work out to 4 pages. Okay. But I am going to be covering the following topics on the first one coming out. Okay. I'm going to cover language as in just what really is the impact of the word can't. How is that likely to affect your life and what can you do about it? I'm going to be covering, one of the things I'm looking at, this is just because I don't have a topic, a bunch of input yet. Okay. But I'm going to be covering the evolution of inner voice enterprises as it is growing. Hopefully, by doing that, it will inspire some of you to get your own tails off the couch and build and attain the dreams that you personally have got. I've got an article I'm writing on the pros and cons of clutter. We've talked about clearing the garbage out of the way. And I don't mean just the physical stuff out of your way. I mean also, yeah, no doubt. I do hope since you're in Las Vegas, you're not running into actual whales, although that would be entertaining. Just a complete side note. Millennia back, whales used to be they used to be land creatures. They retreated to the water at some point. From what I gather, about 40 million years ago, they went back to the water. Christine, how you doing? Glad you could join us. So I will be covering where the pros and cons of clutter really come into play. And again, this is a question of, if you desire a hard copy, I just need a physical mailing address. I will not be charging for mailing, period. So this is not a question of going, oh, give me money, I'll ship you. That ain't going to be the way that works. Because to me, I look at the magazine as a simple way. Right now, it's just a newsletter. It's not big enough to be called a magazine. But give it time, it will be. Yeah. Derek's going, Christine, we haven't showered in 3 days. Exhausted, borderline delirious at this point. Just one get clean. Yeah, no doubt. Travel can be absolutely exhausting, and I know I've been stuck in planes before. And just a few hours stuck in a plane is a problem. A few days in a car, this is not going to be fun. You know, in the newsletter, I will also be including excerpts out of from the Yldrbac Chronicles, and then one of the other ones. Oh yes, and we are going to have a section of looking at what the future has in store for us on a positive side. Okay, there's all sorts of things I could talk about. The reality of it is there's all sorts of things that we could talk about how the world's going to end, about how we're going to suffer all these problems. It's not that I'm not interested in the problems that we may be going through. It's a question of, it is time to get excited about a future that we can actually flourish in. And when I say we, I mean all of us. Well, hopefully she's not driving then. Um, Derek's just saying that his wife, and you're going to have to pardon me there, Derek, or more to the point, your wife is going to have to pardon me, I hope, because I do not recall her name. But then again, that's just the way that is. But the reality of it is, I'm looking at what our future can look like. Thank you so much, though, Derek. And my apologies, Desiree. If I forget your name, just call that normal. Because unfortunately, if I don't see it written down, it takes me forever still to remember names. But at the same time, I am slowly getting it sorted out. But, I am going to be looking at what we've got coming, what the good side of the future has the potential of looking like. But let's be clear. You guys are responsible. I mean, every one of you that hears this and every one of you that passes this on, this gets passed on to. Okay, you're all equally responsible for making the future something we can all enjoy, not something that the so-called elite or the so-called First Nations or the so-called Middle Easterners or whatever. I'm referring to everybody across the board. Okay, that is to start with. Adam, as near as I can figure, people have, people go through phases. They'll come back to those down the road. Okay, but a lot of it is, I think, because there was so much effort used to debunk them, and so many people, there's so many reports of people making their own crop circles and going, oh, this is something special. Okay. And as art goes, it was. But creating a crop circle for everybody to look at is a great way to say, hey, look at me. Okay. Unfortunately, it absolutely destroys the use of them. Not that the people that are actually using them will bother with it, because there is an energy pattern in actual crop circles that they can identify with their technologies. Okay. I mean, it used to be the big thing people were talking about dinosaurs, and about fossils and what have you. Then you go into crop circles, you go into UFOs, and of course we go into the ancient races or into ancient civilizations and what have you. You know, people's interest does get a little flighty. Sometimes as bad as it can do, I'm pretty certain of it. I will also be including in two other aspects as it's laid out for just and this is just literally what I'm looking at in the first newsletter. Okay. I will be looking at some of the different paranormal tools that we've got. And in all fairness, likely just on a cursory level. And yes, I intend on throwing questions out there that are going to upset some people in these fields. No, I'm not picking a fight with the government, with the different agencies, or mainstream religion. I just don't have an interest in causing that much of a headache. Okay, but I will be covering stuff on aliens, on things to consider. Okay, to start with, it'll be in general. Now, a lot of the specific stuff, people end up coming to me and asking anyway. Okay, and right about now, let me just see here. Obviously, the first week and the first Friday of every month, I'm on Spaced Out Radio. I'm not looking at that ending anytime soon. But just gotta get a couple of my drinks out of the way. By the way, when I say a couple of drinks, they're all water. Tell you, the temperature is just nuts here on occasion. What do we got here? Get that out of the way. And the 25th, 21st of June. And this is called a whole lot of heads up, a whole lot of warning. But I'm going to be going back to the rabbit hole. Okay, or at least that's the way I've got it scheduled right now. Now, the neat part about this whole thing is all of these things are happening at the same time for me, which is why I've already done writing in The End of an Empire, or The End of an Empire, and The Return to Paradise, and the new novel. And no, I'm not getting into what the new novel is. I've got to get it formulated and moving properly first. But the little self-help book, and these are the ones I'm really going to be, I figure the smaller books are going to be a whole lot easier to put together, or more to the point, a whole lot more affordable. And it's these little booklets I'm doing, the Believe in Your series. Okay, these are tools I personally am using day to day. They're ones I have handed off to literally thousands of clients over the years. And when you think about it, I've got in excess of 100,000 clients under my belt. Okay, the booklets I'm putting out, these self-help books, are designed to be very easy to understand, very easy to implement. Oh, in all fairness, the length of time, I actually when it was almost uncontrolled, was actually, in all fairness, only about a year. But that being said, I went from no alcohol and no drugs at all in a period of less than a month to a 26er a night, and I quit counting lines at 6. How I stopped was a remarkable little feat. Because I got into drinking and into the drugs heavily okay, to literally get an absolute stranger out of the same situation. And the day she walked out of the bar, when I met her, she had no memory after 10 o'clock. She didn't even own 2 pots that she could call her own, as in cook pots. She had nothing to speak of that was hers. Okay. And she was heavily addicted to alcohol and drugs. When we got her out of there, the day she walked out, she was off the drugs, off the alcohol, half owner of a house, and engaged to be married. Okay. And yeah, in all fairness, did I realize I had feelings for her after it was too late? Absolutely, I did. But like I said, after it was too late. The day she walked out of the bar, I quit drinking. That day. Okay. I went home. I stayed home for a month, which was really odd when you think I was there 6 or 7 nights a week. Okay. Because even if she wasn't working, I'd be down there anyway quite frankly, to make sure she didn't get into trouble. But the day she quit, I didn't go back to the bar for a month. When I went back, I told myself I'm having one drink. Okay. I want it to last the whole night, but I'm having one. When it's done, I'm going home. I was there for an hour. Okay. I turned around, went back 2 weeks later, and I got there at 8 o'clock at night. Bear in mind, the bar didn't open till 8:30. Okay. And I used to get in at 8 and I'd have 2 or 3 drinks under my belt before they actually opened the bar. But I went back 2 weeks later, went, I'm having one drink. I desire it to last the whole night, but I'm gone as soon as it is. As soon as it's gone, I'm gone. Well, it lasted me until about 1 o'clock in the morning. Okay. And I went, no, I can have one more because it'll be 4 before I leave anyway. Just because that's the way it worked. I was always there to help them clean up. So I went in, and I had one more drink, and since then, I've been able to sit down. If I don't desire to drink, I don't bother. If I desire to have a drink, I go ahead. I can sit with people that are all drinking right through, drinking drink after drink, and it won't even bother me. This is why I say there's only 2 types of alcoholics. Okay. You're either an alcoholic or you're a recovered alcoholic, not a recovering, because recovering means you're still fighting the thing. In a nutshell, in my opinion, if you're recovering, you're still an alcoholic. You're just controlling it. Oh, how you doing, Emmy? Emmy's just asking, do you think this crazy world is ever going to turn around and the high prices and all the violence in the world, is ever going to turn around? The high prices and all the violence in the world is just overwhelming. Couple of things. Number one, do I feel it has the potential of turning around? Absolutely, I do. However, I will tell you, it's going to require a lot of effort, and it starts here. Okay, in all fairness, it started here 2 years ago. And fortunately, it's starting to gain a little momentum. I have every intention now. I am not the cure for everything. Matter of fact, I'm the cure for very little. But I figure it wasn't being done. And my opinion is this: if we're going to complain, if we're going to note that things are going bad, if we do nothing, we are just as guilty as the people that are causing it. Derek, the ironic part, and I'm certainly not going down that road. There's a lot of Trump supporters. There are a lot of anti-Trump people. That will always be. Okay, and what I mean by that is not Trump, but politics will always be split. But I will tell you this. I do sort of agree with you in one sense. However, I don't think, in all fairness, from what I gather of the whole thing, I don't think Trump can get back into office now. But the thing Trump had going for him was Trump was a businessman. Now, I'm not talking about his personality. I'm talking about his ability to motivate people and get things done. However he did it, that's his issue. That's your guys' concern. The fact of the matter is, he was interested in making money for him. Okay. And what the states required was somebody with that mindset. It did not require another politician that was vying for all sorts of things. The fact is that from what I was witness to, and do understand, I never followed the whole campaign thing. I just looked at it when I found out Trump was running. People asked me if I knew who was going to win. I said, he's going to take it. You know, to me, it was just a black and white issue. But you got to realize he was in it for money. Okay. And to that end, I do tend to agree with you, Derek. Oh, okay. Like I said, I don't know. Derek's just saying, yeah, even if he has a criminal record, he's okay to run. Which begs the question of just exactly what the political system really looks like. But hey, who am I to talk? The reality is, he will do what is necessary for him to make money. And yes, bringing the prices down, bolstering the economy is going to require a different approach than what people are using. Okay, so it would not surprise me to see that work. But we got to remember, okay, see, there's a real easy way to kill inflation just like that. Okay, and I've seen it done in other companies. I've seen countries do it under smaller circumstances. Ultimately, Henry, you are correct. Bringing your manufacturing back to the country will solve a lot of things. But the reality of it is this: you want to end. If anybody in any country desires to end inflation, okay, all you have to do, and this is directed at the politicians at the top. All you have to do to stop inflation is absolutely across the board, government, business, personal, doesn't matter, right across the board, from the smallest company to the biggest mega corporation or biggest political arena. Freeze freeze the prices and freeze wages and freeze salaries across the board. You freeze those, and all of a sudden your inflation is at a zero. Okay, and that's just the reality behind it. Think about it. If you stop it cold, your inflation is over. Okay, now I'm no politician, and I'm not saying this to make anybody happy, because I know there's those of you. There are people of you, and some of you may be in this chat room, and that's okay, that really desire the real, the real trinkets and what have you. There are many people that look at the world going, I've been through a really rough period. I deserve better treatment. You probably do. But I'm going to ask you this. Are you treating yourself the way you desire to be treated by others? Okay. I ended up losing my job. Okay. And what did I do when I lost my job? I didn't go, I deserve to get a handout. I went, this is the money I paid for. It's about time I get it back. And I'll tell you, it took somebody else to step in and me to have a minor heart attack in the middle of it to get it to happen. But hey, all better. Something to keep in mind, Shadow. I don't argue with you that the oil companies still have to be there. But here's the kicker to it. Okay, there are ways of solving that as well. But the oil companies still have to be kept, because your fertilizer, much of your food, much of your containers And clearly, all of your plastic comes from the oil companies. Okay, so like it or not, shutting them down is just a disaster waiting to happen. However, if instead, if instead of looking at how much we can throw stuff away, people like you, Shadow, and I've seen you do this. You'll take something, you'll take something and put it back to use. Now, here's the kicker, and I forget the exact way it was put, but if you take everything you can and you reuse it until until it can no longer be used, instead of going, oh look, I've got a cell phone, it works like a charm, I'm gonna throw this one out and buy a brand new one. Because the new one is all the trinkets and bells. Shadow's going, I treat myself like a king, and my belly approves of this message. From my standpoint, I finally looked in the mirror and went, literally, I'm taking a very simple philosophy in life. I didn't ask for this world to go to heck in a handbasket. And ironically, I'm using the same statement that I used in my game with my Aftermath game that I was playing. Okay. When I built Jeremiah Wollstrand, okay, when I first built him, I looked at the game master and I went, look, I did not ask for this world to go to heck in a handbasket, but daggit, I'm going to have the best of the best. Okay. And that's just the way it is. So I'm starting to build that kind of thing. I'm just looking at this here. Henry's going, I know so many people who did that. Throw away $2,000 piece of hardware every year for another one. And this, in my eyes, is absolutely ridiculous. I am going to have to replace this one. Of course, this one's an i7. Okay. And it's overheating. When I went into and it's overheating badly, as in to the point that it burns my own hand while I'm holding on to it. So when I talked to them to the techs, they told me point blank, I don't require an i14. I don't require all the bells and whistles, but the i8 at least won't overheat and burn me. JCL, how you doing? Glad you could join us. But when we look at this world now, I have this brilliant dream, okay, and I'd love to share it with you guys. But this dream is this: 50,000 years ago, when I was here, okay, we had no war, no greed, we had no starvation, okay, we had a lot of, and we had no jealousy, okay. This can be done again, but it's going to take looking at the world in a different light. Okay. And this is why I said, okay, this is why I said, when you are one of these people that feels you've got to read the negative news, if you've got to read something that's negative, absolutely do so. There's stuff going on that is just plain bad. It happens. Okay. But when you read something negative, make a point of finding two positive things to read. Okay, or two positive things to listen to. For everything negative you listen to or you talk about the positive things. Okay, now I will tell you, when I put this newsletter to print, it will have a section for bad news. And I'm paraphrasing, but I'm looking, okay, now for the bad news, people, go to another periodical, go to another news station and find the bad news yourself. I'm not passing it on. Okay, at least that's the way I'm looking at it. Yeah, there's all kinds of ways you can get depressing news. Yeah, there's all kinds of people you can talk to that can tell you what is bad. Okay, or tell you where things are disappointing. Okay, we know that inflation happens because of greed. Okay, but you take a look at it. Okay, you know why I mean, this is again, I'm going to pick on something I've got absolutely no interest in myself. But you know why your sports professionals get paid staggering numbers, staggering wages? They get paid staggering wages because they go, it's going to be this ridiculous number to sit on a seat and watch me play. Okay. And the fans are paying that ridiculous number. Okay. But if the fans stop paying those prices, the price of tickets will come down. It's just that simple. Okay. Now, I did something absolutely twisted 2 years ago. Okay. Everything was climbing in spite of the lockdown. I turned around, everybody was raising prices because, we're not getting as much business, so let's increase the prices so we can make the money. I did exactly the opposite. I was following the same path. I kept bringing my prices up. Okay. But when I turned around and I went, nope, this isn't working. I looked at what I was charging and I went, yeah, I'm worth that kind of value. I really am. I've got 50 years under my belt of doing consulting work, business and personal. Okay. I got 50 years background. I've got a fair chunk of knowledge on a personal level that I've dealt with. So, was I worth $180 an hour? Certainly I was. Certainly I am. As a matter of fact, I'm one of the few that can legitimately turn around and say, hey, by the way, I have legitimately been paid $2,500 an hour for what sits up here. Okay. But at 180, I went, nope, not going to happen anymore. And I literally, when everybody else was raising prices, I sheared my price off at 90. Okay. Now understand, if I sit down and do a consultation with somebody, and I tell them it's $90 for the hour. If I decide to run longer, okay, more to the point, it's $90 for up to an hour. If I decide to run longer, I don't add extra billing. I don't turn around and go, hey, we were on for 2 hours, so it's 180. It's $90 for the session up to an hour, and then we'll take a look at it after that. But I won't just categorically add to it. Now, I don't know if that makes any sense. Okay. I will tell you I've already laid the profit sharing out on paper. Okay. Joe's going, I went fishing yesterday at my younger sister's new house. My dad was with us. I caught a 25-inch largemouth bass and got off with a bass stopper. Today, same thing. No fish. No fish, just family time. Sometimes it's not about the fishing, it's about the time. As a matter of fact, most of the time, it's about the time. The important factor there, Joe, is you had fun with the family. At least I presume you had fun with the family. But thank you so much for sharing that with us. Because I'm telling you, that sort of thing, it's got nothing to do with anything, but you had a good time with your family. Okay. This is the important part of life. It is this kind of news that is going to, intriguingly enough, turn this world around, put it back on a decent edge. Now, here's another kicker for you. Okay. We take a look at your family time, and you look at that fish. Okay, that 25-inch largemouth bass. You should see the celebration that he had when he got home, because he actually got home. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm 100% for proper hunting and proper fishing. Okay. This is why when they talk, right now they're talking about gun laws in Canada being installed. But it's neat. They started off on the right track. They don't, where they said, no, you can't have automatic weapons and you can't have pistols, which, by the way, those are two types of weapons that are not required for hunting. Nobody hunts with a pistol and nobody hunts with an SMG. So whether they're banned or not, who cares? Okay, you're still being able to use a long gun in order to take out a deer or in order to take out a rabbit or whatever. I think they're looking at taking shotguns out of the equation as well. But again, has anybody ever looked at somebody with any modicum of respect and gone, yeah, a shotgun's a good weapon? Well, I didn't say politics were brilliant and the politicians were brilliant. There is a saying that goes very simply: cream is not the only thing that floats. Now, in all fairness, in all my years, I've heard of two politicians that were absolutely honest in at least one comment. Okay. One was up here in Canada, and if I recall correctly, his name was Vanderzam. When he was asked why he got into politics, he said he got into politics to make a name for himself. Well, I'll tell you, he succeeded. He never specified whether it was going to be a good name or a bad name. Well, that's the sad part about it. The one thing I will say about any law regarding finances and regarding firearms is this: the honest people will register them. The dishonest ones aren't going to anyway. And sad to say, there is no income bracket that tells you at this income bracket you're dealing with honesty. Okay, it just doesn't work that way. But Henry, I'm going to point this out to you. That's actually wrong. Okay, now maybe I'm an oddity. Well, no, definitely I'm an oddity. Okay, but people, Henry's just stated the only real defense against someone with a gun is someone else with a gun. That is 100% categorically wrong in my experience. Two events that took place. Okay, and these happened to me directly. Okay, one, I was with a friend of mine that I was down at the bar with. We came out of the bar, and a guy with a pistol, pointed the gun at us and told us to give him our wallets. Well, I will tell you, the guy beside me was faster than the guy with the gun, because all he did, the gun was pointing at us, and all the buddy of mine did was slap the guy's hand. That was it. And he had the gun in his hand. He didn't start with the gun. He started with somebody else's gun and went, gee, I haven't got one of these. You mind if I keep it? No gun, no shots fired. The guy with the gun came out short. Okay. In my case, I got held up by gunfire, by gun. Twice, in all fairness. Okay. And in both cases, no shots were fired and I didn't lose a plug nickel. I'm pretty certain they lost confidence pretty quick, because the one guy pulled a gun on me, told me to give him my wallet, and I looked at him, I went, why? And it went downhill for him from there. I didn't get shot, but I didn't use a gun to disarm him. Okay, so unfortunately, it's the thinking that you require a bigger gun to actually disarm somebody with a gun. I could name all sorts of things. And don't get me wrong, very few people, if somebody's intent on shooting you, it isn't going to matter whether you've got a gun or not. Okay, if they're intent on shooting you, all the guns in the world aren't going to help you. Okay, so we have to start changing that thinking. Guns are not required to shut guns down, but guns themselves are not the problem. Oh, see, that again is this issue. That's a political problem. and there was a small town up in northwestern states. I don't remember what state it was in, but I caught this was years ago, and the mayor gets on, and he gets on and says, "Okay, we're just a small town, but if you're going to buy a house, you must have a gun license." And then the chief of police come on the same broadcast, and he goes, "For those of you that are into breaking into people's homes, understand, I'm the only cop in the city. I only work from 9 to 5. So if you're stupid enough to break into somebody's house when it is legally required they have a gun license, if you get shot or you get hurt, whine to somebody else." This is a political thing where the law has to be changed, and it's got to be changed from inside, not from some sort of a riot or some sort of an overthrow. Okay, it's got to be changed from inside the system, where these laws that don't add up are repealed. Things like, "Oh, if you get hurt breaking into my house, then I can sue you. Or then you can sue me." Up here in Canada, we had a case like that. Somebody broke into this guy's house, and he hurt himself breaking in. He turned around and sued the guy and got money for it. Sued the owner of the house. Now, I laid out a counter lawsuit for a guy. As it turned out, I laid it out for one of the lead lawyers in the city, and promptly got told he never wanted to see me in court under those circumstances, because I found a countersuit that would absolutely derail anybody. And the poor lawyer looked at me and goes, "I'm not going up against you." Now, I do not have a law degree, but we've got to get straight. If we're going to change things, the change starts here. Well, technically, literally, the change starts up here, which is what we're working on right now. Okay, but we've got to look at it going, no, violence is not the way to solve violence. It doesn't work. If it did, we wouldn't have had civilization collapse so often. Okay, if it did, we wouldn't have wars that last forever. Okay, it's a question of, you desire peace, you don't pick up a gun. Okay, and you don't delude yourself into thinking that the best way to solve a fight is to hit harder and hit faster. This does not work. Okay, now people will tell me, yes, it does. Lots of places. This has worked throughout history. Take a look at the state of the world and ask yourself if it actually worked. Well, whether we bring back the gallows, personally, I'm all for it. What we do have, what has to happen, and this is why I say these are changes that you guys in your country, us in our country, have to start dealing with. I want you to think about this. Okay, and first, let's be very clear. Okay, this is not a question of doing things in a volatile form to overthrow a government or to do anything. You desire to change governments, get into the political arena and stay honest. Do not listen to people saying, "Oh, if you give me this, I'll vote for you." It doesn't work that way. Not well, anyway. But what has to happen is the spas that are set up for criminals, okay, they don't work. They don't work to deter criminals. The death sentence that exists in some countries doesn't work if you never use it. Okay. And I remember having a conversation with a policeman here. I asked him point blank, I said, "Why don't you guys just shoot criminals?" He goes, "Well, it doesn't deter other criminals." I said, "No, but it does cut down on repeat offenders." Well, the poor cop looks at me and he goes, "The best lawyer on the planet would have a hard time arguing that point." My point is this. Violence, now I'm a pacifist to start with. I'm just not a stupid pacifist. Okay. Violence does not bring peace. It does not cure violence. all it does is create a whole lot more chaos. Now, I will tell you, enough violence will bring quiet, but it does not bring peace. Because if you think about it, if people are worried about being shot like in the Old West, the people that were really problematic ended up dead sooner or later. Okay. Where are we here? Shadow's going. Shadow goes, I'm working on it, and if not me, my son plans on getting into politics. Nice. And let's face it, Shadow, we can safely say that, in my opinion, you're one of these weird people that you get into politics, you're still going to be honest. Okay. Because I don't think anybody's got enough money to pay you. No, that's not peace, that's quiet. You got to remember, if peace through superior firepower worked, okay, there are ways of ending a war just like that. Okay, but we've got these funny things called rules of war, which I'll tell you, the off-worlders I've dealt with don't understand the idea of rules. War. One party wins by any means necessary. You don't have war criminals. You have war, you have casualties. And when it's all said and done, you've got a sheepload of a mess to clean up. Okay, but the reality is, when I'm looking at things and, when I'm looking at building your dream, okay, if you desire peace on this planet, then you've got to start making the changes, not the government. We don't wait for the so-called elites. We don't wait for any god by any name to come down and go, oh, all better now. We don't wait for that. Okay, you desire peace in this world. It's not done by increasing firepower. It is not done by overthrowing a government. Okay, peace is done through communication and through karmic law, as in, do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. You don't desire conflict, don't pick a fight. Okay, it's that simple. Yeah, I mean, I say it's that simple. The reality is emotions can create problems. Ultimately, yes, if a war is done right, the field's empty. Okay, the guys that survive are the winners. But in all fairness, I've yet to see a war turn out winners at all. Okay, I've seen wars turn out, and I've seen a lot of wars. Okay, I've seen wars that have resulted in less casualties on one side, but even the winners lose a lot of good people. Okay, but none of them get away clear. None of them get away unscathed. War itself is an act of aggression. It is not an act of peace. Mother Teresa herself was invited to several anti-war rallies, and I'm just paraphrasing, but she came on the news one day and said, "Look, I appreciate the request to come and join you, but," she says, "I will never show up at an anti-war rally. On the other hand, you throw a peace rally, I'll be there with bells on if I can arrange it." Okay. Again, it boils down to mindset of people on the whole. You think about it. Take the biggest military engine that's available. You pick which country. Okay. If everybody that was in the private or in the lower ranks went, sorry to tell you this, we're not fighting. Yes, I know you're going to court-martial me if I don't fight, but I'm still not fighting. And I know that is a dream that ain't going to happen anytime soon. But if that were to happen, your war would come to a grinding halt. Okay, because if nobody is willing to pick up a gun or an axe or a hammer or a sword or even raise a fist, if people are more willing to work together and to start building things that can help, then frankly, we've got a world that we can work with. And that is the backbone of what I'm personally aiming at. This is what we really require. not new ways to kill each other. Because I'll tell you, your methods aren't working. Okay. And what I mean by that is this. If war worked, because somebody told me one day, war is a great population, it's a great, it works well for population control. If that worked, we would not have a population rise going on. Okay. So we got to get straight that this whole idea of conflict is not conducive to peace. It really isn't. Okay. All it is a loud and ineffective way to tell people you're not happy. Well, I can honestly tell you, Adam, I didn't hear about the Alaska thing until somebody told it to me. But then I don't listen to the news at all anyway. But rest assured, there is a lot of activity still going on. I mean, from the off-worlder standpoint, okay, this is an incredibly exciting time from a xenosocioeconomic standpoint. You know, the reality of it is that we have an opportunity in our hand right now, and you have a dream. I know you have a dream of your own. And I'm not talking about this dream of world peace or this dream of ending hunger around the world. I'm talking about a personal dream. Now, maybe your dream is something real simple. Okay. Maybe your dream is something as simple as getting your living room tidied up so you're comfortable with it. Maybe that's your dream. And that is just as important, if not more so, than these big dreams that affect everybody. Okay, because it's those little dreams that you guys have that when we bring them in and bring them to fruition, it's those little dreams that will start the ball rolling. What you may not realize is that an avalanche is started by a single pebble starting to roll downhill. Okay, it's that easy. And for us to turn this world around is simply a question of starting with the little things. Yeah, Henry's just saying that southern Alberta is covered in haze today, and today is the perfect day for any craft to be speaking about. Absolutely. Now, do understand natural disasters, natural conflagrations like this one, okay, they happen. And I will tell you, you take a major natural disaster, and people quit worrying about who's voting for who. They stop worrying about who's packing a gun or who whether or not you're sleeping with the neighbor's wife. In the middle of a natural disaster, people don't think about these things. Okay. And this is the mindset that we've got to get around and get back to. You think about it. You desire a dream to come to reality. Let me ask you this. You desire to build a house. That's your dream. Is it easier to build the house while when it's peaceful, when nobody's shooting around and shooting at people around you? Or is it easier to build said house when you got to worry about where the next bullet's coming from? Okay, which one makes more sense? Now, people talk you know, about conflict being the cure. Conflict has never been the cure. Okay, yes, it has brought quiet to a lot of nations, but it has never solved the problem. Okay, even if we go back to and just look at North America about, I don't know, 300 years ago. Okay, when the Europeans came over and essentially went to war against the so-called First Nations, that war ended. And yet, it is still being utilized to do absolutely horrendously ridiculous things. And yeah, I'm not going to go into it because my opinion really can get me in trouble. So I'm just not going there. But if we desire this world to be something that our kids can be happy with, that their kids can be happy with, it is up to us to start the ball rolling now, to pick up the torch, as it were, and go, okay, we're not doing this anymore. We're not having this kind of degradation. We're not having this kind of behavior. Okay. And it has to start with the individual. So when I look at the reality of what I'm dealing with, okay, you desire a dream to happen. Okay, take a sheet of paper or take a spreadsheet or whatever on the computer. In today's world, paper and the computer are the same thing. Okay, get the idea in point form first. Pick a task, pick a goal that you personally have, that you've got personal control over. Okay. Now, for instance, you desire your house to get turned around. Okay. Pick one room. I recommend wherever you work on your finances. And you break that room down into smaller sections. Okay. And you clear off each section. Each section. As it gets done, you can expand to the rest of the house. But it's starting off at that nucleus to start with that's going to try and make your dream happen. Now, the reality is, I can tell you this is what's necessary. Okay. I can tell you the method works. I cannot make you do it. And for that matter, even if I could, I'm not interested in making you do it. Okay. I'm interested in taking my dreams and making my dreams a reality. And my dreams that I have control over are pretty cut and dried. Okay. I desire to replace all income that I'm getting from the government, that I'm getting from past work that I've done, doesn't matter, with current income, with current stuff I'm personally working on. Okay. Not residual from what happened in the past. And I will tell you, since we've got no way of changing what happened in the past, okay, it is imperative that we start focusing on what's going on right now in your life, not in my life, not in the rest of the world. Okay, in your life specifically. Okay, now, absolutely, the way inflation sits is going to affect your personal life. Now, I've always been told if your spending is exceeding your income, cut back, cut back, cut back. I'm telling you, I like the other method. I'm spending too much. I'm not cutting back. I'm finding a way to make a better income. Okay. Increase your cash flow, increase the utility of what you're working on, and you'll find your dreams can be a reality. There is nothing, almost, there is virtually nothing that cannot be accomplished. Okay. There's a lot I don't recommend. Of course, in all fairness, I don't recommend skydiving. Okay, a lot of people do it. They have an absolute riot with it. I'm still not going to recommend it. Of course, nobody has given me a logical reason to get out of a perfectly good aircraft. Okay, and like I've told people, we get into the aircraft, and he runs into troubles. Slap a parachute off on my back and throw me out the door. Please do me a favor. Pull the ripcord on the way to make sure that he gets pulled. And I'll take my chances. If not, let's land the plane. I'll wait till it gets down to the ground and hopefully get down in one piece. Okay. Because I will tell you, air turbulence is a lousy reason to get out of a plane. I do get a kick out of it, though. Up here in Canada, last I knew, they still had listed on the books that it is illegal to board an aircraft while in flight. And I might add, highly dangerous. Oh, look at that. I'm betting I'm missing things here. This dang thing did it again. I'm just looking at what Shadow is writing here. It says we don't have a population increase. I'm talking global, not country-wise. But when I just checked just a little while ago, we are now over 8 billion people. Okay, but I do agree with you. If people are cutting off their body parts, cutting off their body parts or destroying parts of their body because they don't relate to this type of body, I don't know, there's something seriously wrong with this. Okay, from my standpoint, it's just kind of a little loopy. But it really boils down to this, and this is why I'm not going to go any further down that rabbit hole. I'll leave the rabbit hole to other people like Rachel. She's got the rabbit hole, let's leave that. Okay, from my standpoint, whatever dream you've got, whatever goal you've got, it's time to start making that preferably positive goal a reality. Okay, now I know I can't remember which one of you it was, whether it was Nathan or whether it was you, Shadow, or somebody else, that said you were working on a couple of figures that you're having to build. Now, to my way of thinking it, those goals are absolutely incredible. Okay, they are absolutely fantastic little goals to have. And those are the ones, it's those little itty bitty things that are going, and I know this is going to sound completely whacked, okay, but it's the attainment of those little goals that is going to turn this world around. Okay, now the nice part about it is these aren't goals that are targeting massive events. They're goals that are targeting that little thing. The reality of it is, the world used to be a lot simpler. And here's why I say it used to be simpler, because people didn't actually share all the bizarre ideas they had. Okay. The second we had the internet, that we had social media, all of a sudden the most bizarre ideas started coming to light. Now, this doesn't mean people didn't have bizarre ideas. Okay. I'm pretty certain that if we went back, 40 years and somebody had come, oh, hot dang, Derek. Derek's just saying we are in our own room. Yay. Well done. Hopefully it is worth the wait. I know you're going to have a riot there. Yeah, I don't doubt that at all there, Derek. Derek's just saying his neck and his back are all probably really badly cranked out of shape. But I'm glad you got there safely. Thank you so much for keeping us informed. I mean, it's kind of in a weird way you've kept us on the trip with you. But, the dreams that we are working on right now, that each and every one of you is working on at this point, I'm talking about your little goals. Yeah, you get to argue with him over that one. And you do realize, and we understand where that's coming from, so we're just not going there. Yeah, see, even in an hour's flight, and the next one, when I go to Texas next year, and this year, if everything works out, I won't be, I'm only in a plane for 3 hours. I get off the plane, I won't be able to walk. Well, that's not entirely true. Okay, I might be able to, because this flight, I'm putting the money aside, so I'm not going down economy, I'm going down business class. Hopefully that will make all the difference in the world. It's a little bit more pricey, I know that. Okay, but frankly, the price, if I can walk when I get there, is going to be so much better than if I can't. But when I'm looking at attaining dreams that you've got, I'm referring to the little ones around your own house, around your own neighborhood, around the people you as individuals know. Okay. Because it's those little things. We get a whole bunch of little miracles happening. All of a sudden, we've got this cascade of change. Okay. And that's what we have to look at. Okay. Now you think about it. We go back 2,000 years, and all that was really said was be nice to each other. Okay. That's what the backbone of it was be nice to each other. And I'm here again to tell you, be nice to each other. Treat others the way you desire to be treated, and we can put this world back on a solid track. Okay. But it boils down to taking responsibility for your own actions, taking responsibility for what you desire to have happen. Okay, or for what you caused to happen. Now, yes, there's all sorts of extenuating circumstances. For instance, the person upset me so badly, I reacted. Still your reaction. And don't get me wrong, I've warned people, my other half included, that when my temper goes, my mouth goes into hyperdrive. Yeah, and you ain't gonna get that one doesn't get any easier. There it goes. Feels weird to be on Pacific time. Yep, it will. And it's not gonna get any better. You're not going to acclimatize in 2 days in all likelihood. But when you're tired, go to bed. When you're not tired, get up and do something. Yes, that will mean that your hours are a little screwy. But, it's not, fortunately, a little bit of sleep deprivation has never killed anybody that I'm aware of. And I said a little bit. Okay. But the dreams that we really have to focus on are the little ones that we have control over ourselves. Okay. If you desire your life to change, you're the one that's going to have to stand up and go, that's it. I cannot change the way I got here. My past, what led me to this point, is where it is. Okay. And there is no amount of complaining, no amount of wishing, no amount of praying that is ever going to change what you've already been through. Okay. The only thing that you can do, effectively speaking, is accept the fact that you've been through it and make a commitment to yourself not to make the same choices that led you into the problems in the first place. Okay. And this is why I said, yes, I am writing a book, a little self help book. Believe in your finances and follow your dreams. Now, understand, I am not trained as a financial advisor. Okay. But at 60 years old, I went bankrupt twice at the guidance of a so called financial advisor. Once on $6,000. The second time on $14,000. Now, I did not know any better. That's no excuse. That's just a reality. Okay. The fact of the matter is, there was no viable reason I should have gone bankrupt. The only people that benefited from that, in my opinion, were the so called financial advisors. Okay. And this is something that I am currently aiming to correct from the standpoint of pointing out what you may be going through, why you may be considering bankruptcy when you don't necessarily have to. Okay. This doesn't mean that it will be an easy transition, because I will tell you, shearing off the debt and telling the person that you legitimately got the debt with, telling them, I'm sorry, I can't afford to pay it, so you're on your own. Okay, karmically, this is just wrong. And I don't mean legally it's wrong. I mean karmically. Okay, so the reason I'm putting this booklet together is so that you can get an idea on how to reclaim power over your finances. Not how you can bypass the debt, but how you can get it caught up without hanging yourself out to dry. Now, understand, this is not a be all or end all for anybody. Okay. The one requirement for it to work is that you've got to have enough of an income, whether it is from governmental income or, whether it is governmental income or working income, doesn't matter. You've got to have enough income to be able to cover your living expenses. If you have that, then this booklet will work. No matter whether you're coming in with only $10 extra or $10 million extra. This booklet that I'm putting together will work. And yeah, I know I'm saying that with, look, I'm telling you this will work. The booklet that I wrote, Believe in Yourself and Follow Your Dreams, is a backbone that I used myself to turn my life around. Okay, and it's one that literally hundreds, more to the point, thousands of people have been gifted the same insight. Okay, and it's a simple process, but it's using tools that absolutely work across the board. Okay, same as when I wrote the booklet, Believe in Your Business and Follow Your Dreams. Doesn't matter if your business is running a household or running an intercontinental company. Okay, the tools are the same. Now, I know that sounds egocentric on my part. Okay, but if you desire to attain your dreams, I'm telling you the tools that I work with are the ones that I have seen work for myself and for others. Now, granted, if you're asking me why am I not a millionaire, it's because I didn't do what I've told other people to do. Okay, and I've got the books right in front of me. I've got the proof that does it. My own life, my own outlook on life, that I did exactly what I tell people to do. Starting with the idea of when you get up in the morning, when you first wake up. Okay, here's how you start your day, regardless of what walk of life you're in, regardless of where you're living. If you're living on the street, you might have troubles. But if you're living in a place, in any home, no matter whether you're poor or you're a multi-billionaire, it doesn't matter. You wake up in the morning, get up, go and do what you have to do in the washroom, come back, make your bed. Okay, I don't mean just throw the covers on, I mean make your bed. Okay, before you even leave the room. Okay, you make the bed, pick up whatever's on the floor, because many people, when they get out of the clothes, drop them on the floor. Okay, make the bed and then leave the room. And here's why it works. When you do that, you have just accomplished your first goal of the day, and you've overcome the biggest obstacle you will ever face in your life, your own stubborn disposition. Okay, now the idea of having a dream that seems too big. Okay, take whatever dream it is and break it down into smaller things. And every time you see something that is getting in the way of that dream, alter the energy around it, shift things. And like I said, if what's altering it is because your desk isn't organized and you've got a pen that's on your right hand side here, and you're like, that's not where I desire that to be. We're told change is difficult, change is painful, change is hard. Okay, and it's frightening. Well, watch this. Okay, number one, you're listening to me talk, which is amazing in itself. There's a minor miracle for you. But every time I say a word or every time you have a thought, you're changing something. Okay, now, unless you have me writhing around on the floor in pain right now, we can safely say that thinking is not hurting you. Okay, I know there's people that I've watched when they think you're looking at them going, wow, an original thought. What a shock. Okay, and yeah, I'm guilty of looking at that on occasion. Fortunately, it's not illegal nor karmically bad to think twisted thoughts. Okay, but you got your pen in your right hand. You don't like it there for whatever reason. Watch the painful experience. We're going to move it from here all the way to my left hand. Close my left hand around it. And now it's over here. You notice I'm not writhing in pain. It didn't scare the daylights out of me. Did it scare you when I went like this? Or if I do something like, it just doesn't work that way. Okay. Change itself is the only constant in existence. Period. Never mind the universe. It's the only constant in existence. And your body, your mind are constantly changing all the time. I do believe we have a rainstorm going on outside, which is so much better than a rainstorm going on inside. But the dreams I'm talking about, you desire to attain your dreams. It's time to look at what they are. And literally, if something in your life is not helping that dream come to fruition, it's time to alter the energy around it. It's time to shift things so that your dream can happen. And that is entirely up to you. I can tell you wholeheartedly, each and every one of you have the capacity to change your life for the better. Okay. It is going to require work. It is going to require effort. Okay. But it is doable. Okay. And let me see if I've actually got it up and running. I don't know if I do. Not that one. Nope. So let us take a look at that and see if we can do this. um, yeah, we go to browse. There we are. I wrote something in the beginning of believe in yourself and follow your dream, or believe in your business, in your finances, and follow your dreams. Okay, and this is literally what's written in there, maybe revised a little. Okay. Okay. Now, this is literally written in the front of believe in your business, in your finances, and follow your dreams. Here's a list of my credentials. I'm not a trained financial advisor. Period. If you're looking for a trained financial advisor, I'm not the guy to talk to. Okay. I've already, I mean, these tools I've shared with literally thousands of people in bits and pieces. Okay. And the other thing that is fundamentally different between what I've written and what many, many financial advisors have written is I will not promise you fast gains. I will not promise you fast payoffs. Only a lot of step-by-step work that you yourself can implement, which puts it in your hands to make your life better. Okay. And it's just that simple because every single one of you has the same capacity to change your life for the better. Now, you can absolutely sit down in front of all the people you want that are telling you, oh, you can put this much money in. You can make $5,000 guaranteed every day. Okay. You can make without any effort. You can be a millionaire overnight. You can drop 40 pounds in a month by just doing this one little thing. I'm telling you, fast gains don't tend to work very well. Here's a statistical fact I didn't check up, which is normal. Okay. From what I gather, when somebody has a sudden windfall, okay, 90% of the people that get a sudden massive windfall are in worse shape 3 years after the windfall than they were before they got the windfall. Now, I do know of one couple in particular, what seemed to be an absolute rock solid marriage. Okay. And they had 10 years under the same roof. They won $10 million. Okay. These were neighbors of ours. They won a $10 million lottery. A month later, they were separated. Okay. Now, to my way of thinking, that lottery did not do them any favors. Okay. I mean, granted, when I got my windfall with my mom's estate, I did not spend it effectively as well as I should have. But do I like to think I learned from it? Oh yeah, absolutely. But the tools I offer and the reason I say these work is because I use them. I'm not talking about telling you, oh, put $5,000 in my bank account and you'll be a millionaire overnight. Not going to happen. Now, that said, you want to put $5,000 in my bank account? I'm not going to turn it away. I'm not greedy, but I'm not stupid. At least I like to think not. You know, so you desire your life to change. It's time to make it happen. The intriguing part is that you don't even have to know what that change is or how to go about it. All you have to know, you don't even need to know where you desire your life to go. All you have to know is, are you content with your life the way it is? Have you attained the dreams or the goals that you've already made in your own mind and said, this is what I'd like to experience? Okay. If you have anything that is not falling into that category, then it is time to really stand up and make it happen. Oh, that's the easy part. And that's a very viable question there, Derek. If I could change one thing about my life, what would it be? Okay. Number one, my patience when it comes to dealing, my tolerance, if you will, where it comes to dealing with people making stupid moves, myself included. Okay, I used to have dominant control over it, and I will get it back. When I had my stroke, it eliminated my ability to cope. And that is one thing that I am striving to get back on track now. Okay, most of the rest of it I'm having happen. I think one of the other things that to me is very important, and in a sense, it's a bit of a gamble. Okay, but I really do desire to bring my other half across the border because I told her when we got together, I just flat out said, look, two things to get straight. One, I'm not moving, period. It wasn't open to discussion. It was a question of, yeah, I'd love to see if it can go somewhere, but I'm not moving. And if that means it won't go anywhere, then so be it. I says, the other thing is, I've got a 15-year-old at home. He's got mild CP, and if he never moves out, that's the way it is. Well, it took her about 30 seconds, and she goes, I can work with that. So that is one thing. It's a bit of a gamble, but on the plus side, we've been together now almost 3 years, never physically met, so things could change very drastically. But we've also never had so much as one argument. Okay. And that's almost unheard of. I've only heard of it in one relationship prior, and that was my mom and dad. But that is one of the things that I would really change. The other one I'm working on, because all the things that I desire to change, some of them are huge. Okay. For the longest time, I did not desire to wear glasses. I desired my eyes to heal enough that I didn't require them. I now require them to want to work on the computer or to drive. But if I'm not working on the computer or driving, I don't wear them at all anymore. Okay. But I do need to piece my mind back together. Oh, that, Derek, yes. We are on FaceTime virtually every day. Okay. And we're usually on for hours at a time. Now, I have seen her, but she can be standing right next to me and she'll never see me. Okay, in all likelihood, I'm going to do what I can about that because it's theoretically possible I'll be able to help her with one eye. The other one, it's gone. It's just never going to be replaced. But have I seen what she looks like? Yes. Does she know what I look like? Quite frankly, I did as best I could by literally taking measurements of my body parts. Okay, things as simple as measuring my forearm, my hand width, and gave her as solid of statistical information as I could. But here's the kicker for her. That's the best I could do without her physically being here. Because the reality is she's 100% blind. Okay. So, no, she cannot physically see what I look like. I've seen what she looks like. And realistically, there's not a whole lot to her. But for me, that's fine. And no, we've been together for almost 3 years and virtually daily been in contact over FaceTime. You know, the reality of it is I have no doubt in my heart that we will be married for a very long time. I've already told her when she gets here. Christy, how you doing? Glad you could join us. You know, in my opinion, as far as I can tell, we will be married until one of us drops dead permanently. Now, in my case, I'm likely to drop dead a couple more times before I get fed up with it. In her case, probably not. You know, but the reality is, I had decided when she came into my life, I'd already reached a point where I said, I'm done looking. Because I tell you, the people my age that I interacted with were one of two things. The females my age were either brain dead or gold diggers. And face it, I don't have a whole lot of finances. Yeah, I will tell you, yeah. See, I only went to my, and I do agree with you, Joe. That prom was something that unfortunately many people don't get to go to because of circumstances. Not that makes you feel any better. I wasn't actually going to go to mine, but the only girl in the city in the school that had treated me properly, she flat out told me, she says, you know, oh, Emmy, I will get to that in 10 seconds. The only reason I went to my prom is the only girl in the school that actually accepted me as is. Flat out told me, she says, you're either voluntarily coming or I am going to arrange to have you kidnapped. You're going. So I went. Emmy, without going into details, that is entirely what I'm intending on doing. I've already told her that I am going to, when she's ready to make that trip, I'm bringing her up here. I'm paying for her flight. I'm putting her up in a hotel room for a week. Okay. And we'll see how y'all spend as much time with her as I can. Right. But there is no way I'm bringing her up here and saying, you got to stay at my house. Ain't going to happen. Okay. It's going to be stressful enough for her. But the idea is to bring her up here for a week, and with the understanding she'll have a return ticket. And if she decides to go back after a week, fantastic. Away she goes. If she decides not to, we'll work it out there. You know, but yeah, I agree. Bring her up in order to see how it goes before we get married. Really good idea. Really good idea. Well, let me put it this way, Emmy. I'm almost 100% certain she is. Okay. Emmy's just saying, I hope she's your soulmate. Um, I'm almost 100% certain she is. We've got so much in common yet varied. We've shared past lives together, and we know this because we've discussed them, where one of us will start a conversation and a description, and the other one will go, there's these other parts. Right. So we know we've had a number of past lives together. Okay. We both decided we're making this work. Okay. And yes, we've had some pretty complicated conversations because there are some differences that we cannot get past, that we simply have to work through. Okay, but the reality is her concerns, her fears are equally valid to my own. Yeah, that unfortunately, that's just it. There are many people, you look at them, Joe's just saying the girls I went to school with back then didn't miss a beat as far as beauty went. The answer to your question there, Derek, frankly, the answer is yes. Okay, she's experienced a lot of things, and one day maybe she'll fill you in. But the reality is she is the one doing the editing with me for the Yldrbac Chronicles. She is helping me with the editing for Races of the Worlds. Okay, but she's been dealing with off-worlders since longer than I've known her. Well, since longer than I've known her this lifetime, not since longer than I've known her. I do appreciate that, Emmy. The fact of the matter is, for me to be happy, I end up becoming happy by seeing other people happy. Now, the reality is I've had, after I walked away from my wife, okay, and we did not break up because of either infidelity or finances. Okay, but I've still got a friendship with my ex-wife. Okay, and there's nothing that makes me happier that I know of than than other people attaining their dreams, and really turning their life around. You know, I was saying there was one young couple I knew they really desired to get married, but they were on two different pages on how to go about it. I was lucky enough to have a hand in making that happen. Okay. As in I simply found out what the hiccup was and told them how to clear it up. Net result, this young couple ended up married, and that was 15 years ago. Okay, I just ran into them, I think just earlier this year. Right, either earlier this year or late last year. Nathan, how you doing? Glad you could join us. I'm presuming you've been working your tail feathers off today. And where are we? Let's just find what I'm looking for here. There. And this is Nathan's show. Nathan's YouTube channel. So, as I've said before, absolutely drop in, give it a listen. If you like what he says, and because he's got some really neat, really upfront ideas. So, if you like what he says, give him a like and do subscribe to his channel. Okay. The reality is, it's this kind of interaction that is going to make this world a better one over the next couple of years. Now, right now, where are we here? I just decided to refresh that so I can keep working with. There we are. I don't like that defaulting the top. That always confuses me. But I tell you, somebody told me how to bring the chat up online so that it's live chat, and that makes it so much easier. You know, the fact of the matter is, what I'm looking at this point, yes, I'm still aiming for 1,000 by the end of this year. But I came to the conclusion that it's time to really take the doors off and go, how about if we just don't put a cap on it? There are roughly 8 billion people on the planet. Now, even if we cut that in a quarter, we're looking at 2 billion people. Okay. And we cut it to a quarter because let's face it, number one, not every individual has a computer. Not every individual has access to technology. Okay. So what I'm looking at is okay, let's take this and instead of having a couple of 100,000 people here, let's grow this to the point where everybody in the world is reached. And for that matter, the ones listening from out of the world. Now, somebody mentioned the other day somebody in our chat room said they thought that I was gearing up to come back next year, next lifetime, and show people how to actually turn this world around. And, the reality is they weren't wrong. Okay. The reality is, Joe's just gone. The thing is, I've run into only 2 women as of late that I went to high school with. Let me tell you, beauty-wise, nothing's changed. They actually look hotter. This is fantastic. I look like I died like I went through 80 yards of bad road in the first place. And in my opinion, things didn't really improve. But I don't have to tolerate looking at me. And the old saying goes, and I mean, it's kind of a twisted way to look at it. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But if you're a gamer, if beauty is in the eye of the beholder, I'll tell you, you can scrape the bottom of the bucket and still have an absolute knockout. But gamers are going to understand why I said that. People that play D&D. Because there's a really horrendous looking critter called the beholder. And he's got a huge freaking eye. Okay, but that's a gauge for beauty. I'm a firm believer that whatever you find beautiful, whether it's a physical appearance, whether it's a personality trait, doesn't matter. Okay, what you find beautiful, what the other person finds beautiful, that's what matters. Not the beauty per se, but what you see as beauty. Now, it was great. I knew of one couple that I dealt with. The guy literally, hey, he was only like 5'6", 5'7", and unfortunately, he was literally so big. Now, how big was he? He was so big, he literally had to buy 2 plane tickets to get onto a plane, to be permitted onto a plane. Okay, now his girlfriend, that he was absolutely head over heels with, would have fit inside one of his pant legs. Right. And he called me because of the fact that everybody and their dog was approaching this woman and asking her out. And he said, I see it happen all the time. I'm afraid she's going to leave. And I looked at her and I looked at him and I went, yep, she is approached all the time by the guys that see her. Absolutely, and understandably why she was. But I said, but what you're not aware of is you never hear how she responds. And he goes, no, I can never hear the conversation. I said, she's got a mouth like a sailor. Okay. And that's no disrespect to sailors. But I'll tell you, she was very quick to tell people what they can do with their advances. Because at that size, he was the best looking guy on the planet for her. And, I'm looking at this world going, we've got to start now. We've got to change the way the world is running. Or we're going to have an absolute disaster at the end of it. Okay. Christine, hope your day is going well. The way I look at it is this. We have a world in the palm of our hand. It can be either heaven or hell. Your call as to which one. Now, I'm taking my house, okay, and I'm getting rid of the stuff that is no longer conducive to what I consider the best of the best. And yes, this is why the young lass that I've hooked up with, okay, that I've connected to, she is what I consider the best of the best. Okay. Now understand, I have dated active models, like professional runway models. Well, more to the point, a professional runway model. Okay. I have dated a professional belly dancer. Okay. They don't hold a candle to this young lass. Okay. At the time, they certainly did. But at this point, not a prayer. I don't blame you there at all, Christine. I would, like I told them earlier, like I told everybody earlier, I was initially planning on going to the party in Vegas. Okay, and then my job ended, and everything went out the window. But after 5 months of fighting with the government, my EI has now come in. And now I'm already putting money aside to make absolutely certain. What a brilliant idea. I gotta look into a couple of prices, but I've got money right now I can actually set aside and go, that's in the bank account for the holiday next year. I can put half of it there without damaging myself. Okay. Like right now I can. Because I have every intention next year of making the trip. If things go really well, I'll bring my other half with me. Okay, if not, I'll go on my own. But this is just something for a year down the road, and I will keep in touch with with Dave as far as the organization of it goes, just so I know what I'm up to. But I will tell you, unlike many of you that will drive there or that did drive there, I'm not driving. You know, Dave could drive, Dave may drive, I don't know, but I won't be getting into the truck. I will be getting onto a plane and flying. That's just the way that's going to go. I don't travel well at the best of times. But when we look at the dreams you have, when I started this whole thing about how to go about fulfilling your dreams, this is a question of fulfilling the dreams in your life. And the idea of world peace, much as I am working towards it, and whoever brought the idea up, it was actually already brought up to my attention earlier by me. Am I planning on next lifetime returning and carrying this thing on? The answer is yeah. Don't know how I'm going to go about it. Don't care how I'm going to go about it. Okay. But right now, while I'm here, I will do what I absolutely have to. Um, you know, the one thing I will caution you on there, Joe, like Joe's just going, just a tip, do not date a divorced woman. You got to remember, in every divorce, every relationship breakup, doesn't matter what the breakup or who is involved, invariably, it's a 50-50 problem. It's only 50% the woman's respondent problem and only 50% the guy's. Okay, whether they've been in a relationship, whether they've been common law, married, living on their own and just getting together, doesn't matter. Everybody has a past, and there's always two sides to what happened. Okay, so I would not shut down the idea of a divorced woman. Okay, in my case, I'm not dating a divorced woman. Okay, I actually have the best of all worlds, but the reality is whether they're divorced or not is not where the issue is. Okay, just something to consider. And if you've got that boundary that they're divorced, I'm not touching them, stick with it. You follow your own heart. I am not the one to tell you if it's right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm just the one to tell you, look, divorced women are not all the same. They're not all responsible for the divorce. Okay. I know of a number where the reason the divorce happened was because the guy beat the living stuffing out of the woman one too many times, or cheated on the woman one too many times. Okay, and bear in mind, I say did that to the woman. I know of an equal number where the woman did that to the man. And this is just the reality of the way life actually works. Okay, whatever you do, understand your future, your dreams, you design what you desire to have. Okay, the only caution I have for you is do not talk about what you want in a relationship. Talk about what you desire or what you choose to have in a relationship. And understand, if it is not a 50-50 effort, okay, then you're going to have problems. Sooner or later, it'll buckle. It's got to be 50-50, regardless of your two's background. Okay, that's just the way the reality works. And understand, I call it reality because I've got in excess of 100,000 clients, but in excess of 65,000 of those were relationship issues. Okay, so, and this is personal database that, personal experience I've had in dealing with people, not some statistic that I picked up off a website. This is just what I've seen in my own, in my own efforts. But do I still feel, Joe, that you will find somebody that you can spend the rest of your days with? The answer is yes. Whether you get married or not, that's your call. Okay, whether you're married, whether you're common law, doesn't matter. Okay, what makes you and her equally happy is the important factor. And that is simply coming from a lot of experience dealing with other people. Okay, and dealing with other people's efforts. Now, with that in mind, okay, and the fact that we are now, well, actually, we're well over, but I figured I was going to run it right till the 6:30 this time. Okay, and I know I started a little early, but my throat was working. So, I do have to say again, if you like the stream, do give us a thumbs up. If you like it a lot, do subscribe to the channel, and then please do me a favor and share the daylights out of it. Now, with that in mind, I'm going to call it a night. I'm going to thank you once again for sharing your time with me, and absolutely go out and start working towards your dreams. Start making them happen. Okay. Now, until we talk again, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.